Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rumi, for that background. You have covered very comprehensively the existing, the budget. And, I'll have to go deep to bring out additional points. I also thank IMPRI for this opportunity of making this presentation, and also meeting many of my other colleagues from different organizations. Uh, Thank you for that kind introduction, Lakshita. Um, I would first like to thank the finance minister, because in this budget, she identified urban as one of her priorities, urban development as one of her 9 priorities. I think that is a very important thing. And we were competing with things like productivity, employment and skills, inclusive human resources, manufacturing, energy transition, infrastructure and innovation. Within that priority, urban development has identified as an important priority sector. As mentioned by Dr. Rumi, Prime Minister's Awas Yojana 2.0 is providing 1 crore housing for the urban poor and middle class families. And they're also going to be enabling policies for efficient rental markets, and possibly there'll be a new rent act, guidance for a new rent act in different cities, which will promote rental housing, and there'll be special efforts to promote rental housing for industrial workers and affordable rental housing. Um, I still feel that one vertical of this whole housing initiative is community-based slum improvement program, UBS, as it was known long, long ago, which took community and then provided incremental housing, common services, and even common tenure for a group of people. Unfortunately, we have missed down that, and we have become very individualistic in this affordable housing effort. It is very good to see that under water management, there is promotion of water supply, solid waste management, sewage treatment for 100 cities. But what is important to mention and bring out is that the focus is on bankable projects or PPP. Unfortunately, PPP has not been very successful in urban sector till now, and we are still trying to understand what that framework will be for PPP in urban sector. And for this, what is important is that we support municipal bonds, which is not being clearly mentioned. Also focus on revenue generation, specifically property tax. I think Amrut and Swachh Bharat Mission uh, are going to be limited to 100 cities, if I have understood it correctly, but it could be clarified later. There is a mention of helping 14 large cities with 30 lakh population to develop TOD, transit-oriented development. Uh, and there will be a cell in MHU to promote or to support TOD in these cities. I think it's a very good move, but I think it needs to be linked up with viable metro system. I think except 2 or 3 or 4 cities, our metro systems are not viable, and it will be long time before they really have the number of passengers which are required. I wish we had equally given importance to BRTS, BERTS, rapid transport system. At this stage, I would also like to mention that the high-speed rail between Ahmedabad and Mumbai is focusing with Japan technical support. It is focusing on development of areas around the railway station. It's a very, very positive way, pedestrian plaza, high density, something like transit oriented, but much beyond human friendly kind of thing. And I think that we need to look at. It's also nice to see, as mentioned by Dr. Rumi, to reduce stamp duties, particularly for women. But on the other hand, I see that rental income from properties has been now not to be treated as business income. And also there is a conflict with reduction of capital gains. And this needs to be looked at it together. Support to street market is a very positive step, but this should be linked with vendor policies. The re-densification, I think that is also very good, to see that there will be a focus on brownfield redevelopment, because we need to develop our existing cities in Ahmedabad and even in Bombay. I believe in South Bombay, there are more projects of redensification rather than new project, and which is very helpful for the cities. I sincerely feel that budget has not provided enough support for inclusive development. I think funding for National Urban Livelihood Program has come down, and very little support for community-based activities. And this is a negative point, and I think we need to focus it. Overall, maybe there are some things the budget has looked at inclusive development, but it has not looked at for urban areas. There is no mention of supporting urban local bodies. I didn't see any specific support for local bodies, the third level of our government, and it is only support which I see is from the Central Finance Commission. The local bodies is the strength of our urban governance. It needs to be improved in terms of database, digitization, capacity building, and also perhaps a relook at 74th constitutional amendment. And here I would like to link it with the work which Keshav Vermaji's committee is doing on urban town planning. And I think they are putting a lot of focus on urban local bodies. I have two messages which partly was mentioned by Dr. Rumi. We have to go beyond the urban sector section of the budget. Some examples are there is support in terms of legal and tax incentives for Gujarat International Finance Tech, that is GIFT City in Gujarat. It is not enough to provide good infrastructure. So equally important to give tax incentives and legal support, which has happened, and its continuous support is being provided by Gujarat government near Ahmedabad and Gandhinagar. And I think it is increasing international investment and employment of a very high, different kind, particularly in financial technology side in this city. Also, there is establishment of industrial node along Amritsar-Kolkata industrial corridor, which will increase demand for real estate, both in commerce and in residential areas. Amravati again has got whatever the political implications are, but support to Amravati will also generate a lot of additional investment, and then improved land record will help the local bodies to increase their revenue and investment. I should also mention that climate finance taxonomy for adoption is to reduce greenhouse gases and supporting our energy transition, which needs to be linked. We have to take benefit of this other parts of urban development. My second message is it's time for urban sector to shift from projects to program. I think since JNURM, we are focusing on projects. Projects is not enough. We need to meet to a program, an overall program, which would mean national urban development policy, which would mean state urban development policy linking with the national policy. And at the city level, we should go for city development strategy or city development program, which is like corporate plan, which in addition, we should have a financial operating plan or capital investment plan, which looks at PPP, bonds, government support, enhanced own revenue, and all this together will give us a strategy for urban development, which is sustainable over long period of time. Thank you so much, IMPRI and Dr. Rumi. And if there are any questions, I can come back at the end of the